A number of years ago, I was in a ministry position and I started to feel like I was stuck, like I needed to be doing something different, but I had no idea what that was. So I said this short, simple prayer when I was sitting in my office. I just said, okay, God, what's next? And I've never had God answer me so loudly or quickly in my life. It was later that same evening, I was working on a home project and it was just quiet. There was no music, there's no conversation. It was just me thinking. And suddenly I hear God say to me, start this curriculum company. And I wrestled with it in the moment and well beyond. Was that really God's voice that I was hearing, or was it my own internal voice? I've been a Christian for a long time, and I'm still learning what God's voice sounds like in my life. But I know what my internal voice sounds like. My voice says small things and safe things and comfort-preserving things. And this was not my voice. This was saying big and bold and scary things. In fact, it was so scary that I started to feel like this elephant was sitting on my chest. I was having this sort of mini panic attack. And so ultimately I told myself, look, David, just go to bed, and like so many other harebrained ideas you've had, this thing will go away in the morning. So that's what I did. Next morning I wake up, it's the first thing that I think of. And instantly, that elephant is back on my chest. I'm feeling overwhelmed and absolutely terrified. So I put it off again for the next day, for the next week, for the next month. But eventually I realized it's not going away. And when I finally realized that ignoring it is not gonna make it go away, I changed tactics and I really started to wrestle with God. And in my prayer time with God, the thing that I was genuinely saying to Him was, God, you have got the wrong guy. I don't know why you're asking me to do this. And in that time of prayer, the thing that I heard back from God distinctly was, I know you're the wrong guy, and that's why I picked you. And I instantly remembered back to the story of Moses at the burning bush and how Moses was saying to God, God, you have got the wrong guy. I cannot go talk to Pharaoh. This is too big and too scary for me. Have somebody else do it. And so I turned to that story to see what God said to him, and I loved it. He didn't give him a pep talk. He didn't say, come on, buddy, you can do this. All he said to Moses was, I will be with you. In other words, Moses, this is not about you. This is about me. This is about what I can do. I felt like God was saying that exact same thing to me. This wasn't about what I was able to do or how smart I was or how talented I was. This was about something that God was going to do, and He wanted me to be a faithful part of. And so I continued to pray and talk to some people and eventually said, okay, let's do this thing. In the past, I had used a lot of different curriculum, and some of them were biblically rich, and some of them were really fun, but none of them really brought both of those two things together. So when I started developing Go, I knew that I wanted it to be both of those things. But the real signature of Go is in the tagline. The tagline is, join the story. And we mean that in a couple of different ways. Number one, we want for kids to become a part of the storytelling. We want them to join in on the story that's being told. And we do that through a number of really creative, interactive storytelling methods. Secondly, Go is designed to invite kids to become a part of God's story by becoming followers of Jesus. In the beginning, we started with just a dozen partner churches who piloted the curriculum for us. And we would get feedback from them, and they absolutely loved it. Now from there, we've grown to having more than 100 churches who are using Go. We've reached more than 12,000 kids with the Word of God. And we've had more than 100 kids who have taken that step of faith and become followers of Jesus. We've had an absolutely wonderful start, and we love that, and we celebrate that. But we want to do more. We want to keep that momentum going. We want to reach more kids. We want to start a preschool curriculum. We want to develop training resources to help churches reach kids for Jesus. And we want not only 100 kids to become followers of Jesus, we want for 1,000 kids, for tens of thousands of kids to reach Jesus. It's so important that we reach people when they're kids. There's a stat from this group called the Barna Group. They say that half of people become followers of Jesus before the age of 13. That actually goes up to 2/3 of people before the age of 18. The older people get, the less likely they are to become Christians. So we want to reach them when they're open to the gospel message. More kids need to know who Jesus is, but they need to learn that in a way that is engaging and effective for them. They need to learn it in a way that's fun and that involves them in the whole learning process. And Go is devoted to making that happen. But we can't make that happen without the resources. Now, a part of our resources come through the sales of the curriculum, but the rest of that comes through the generosity of the donors. We want to raise 2 years' worth of operating expenses so that we can focus our time and energy on creating even more resources to reach kids with the gospel of Jesus. We love where we're at. We have so much energy and momentum going forward, but we want to take that even farther. We don't want to reach just 12,000 kids. We want to reach 50,000 kids, 100,000 kids. We want to have as many kids as possible know the love of Christ in their heart. A few years ago, I said yes to this adventure that God has called me on. And since then, we've had a number of donors who have also said yes to that adventure, and we are so incredibly thankful for those people. But now we need even more, and we believe that we, along with the generosity of the donors, can make that happen. We can reach even more kids with the gospel of Jesus.